Pluribus is the newest TV show by Vince Gilligan. If that name doesn't ring a bell to you, he's the guy that has made what is, in my opinion, the greatest TV show ever created, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So me knowing that he was the man behind this show, there was hype regardless. I didn't know what the show was about. I had no idea what the premise was. I went into this just knowing one thing, and that it was Vince Gilligan who made it. And now that season 1 officially wrapped up last night, I want to talk about this show in its entirety because there is so much to talk about. I'm just gonna, I'll rip the band-aid off right now. I loved this show so much. Before we get into everything, first and foremost, a Merry Christmas to everyone watching this video. And if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button and YouTube's new hype button. That would be just incredible. That would be the greatest gift I could possibly get this Christmas day. But yeah, man, I gotta talk about Pluribus. I gotta talk about everything that made this show so great. But I will be getting to spoilers. I can't talk about the show without getting into spoilers. So if you haven't watched Pluribus yet, if you're planning on watching, if you haven't seen the finale yet, don't watch this video. Watch Pluribus first, come back here, and then we can go from there. Now, right off the bat, what I want to say with Pluribus is that it has, in my opinion, one of the greatest pilot episodes to a TV show I think I have ever seen. Because everything starts off so ordinary and mundane. We get introduced to Carol. She's this really, big author that makes this big fantasy book. She has her girlfriend, who I think is also her manager or business partner to some capacity. I'm trying to remember. And they're just kind of going through a typical day-to-day. She's going to book signings. She's doing all this cool stuff, that a big author would do, talking to fans. But we quickly learn that Carol is not the brightest person in the world. She's not the happiest person. She could be very condescending. She could be, very sarcastic. Doesn't look at the world in the greatest light. But then we get to this thing that came from a different planet that is effectively a hive mind. Look, I've seen all the Rick and Morty jokes. I've seen all of the what's her name from Rick and Morty again? Unity. I've seen all the Unity jokes, but yeah, that's basically what this thing is. It's a hive mind of some kind, and the way that we see it take over, starting off from just a small little rat in a laboratory, and as it kind of grows, its reach and expand across all the people that work there, and then just across the world, period. The way that Carol kind of sees all this happening is she's out in a bar with Helen, and then little by little you just see and feel that something is wrong, and slowly even Helen gets taken over. It sucks. It's super sad, and the episode's still going on with Carol driving away, and all these people are just staring at her, smiling at her. It's so off-putting and so great. But to kind of condense it into a nutshell, Carol is one of a very specific group of people that cannot be infected yet by this hive mind. For some reason, for reasons unknown, they're just kind of immune to them trying to take over. And what Pluribus does so well is that it really draws a very interesting dynamic between all the people that have joined into this hive mind and the people that haven't. Because at first glance, this hive mind thing isn't really all that bad at all. I mean, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's something that just doesn't want to harm anything. It can't kill anything. It wants to be the best thing it can possibly be for humanity. It's very strange. And what we end up learning, like I mentioned earlier, is that Carol is not the only one that can't be affected yet. There is a group of people, but all of them, aside from Carol and one other person that I'll get into later, just has no problem with how life is, with everybody being, converted into this hive mind thing. It's only 6 or 7 of them total that can't be converted yet. And again, the show does an actually decent job of at least explaining why these people don't really have much of an issue with it. Some of them didn't want to lose their family members and can still kind of live out that, albeit delusional, reality that their kids are still alive. Some of them just love having anything that they want at any given point. I didn't mention that. This hive mind just wants nothing more than to make to make them happy, to make those people happy that aren't transferred yet, and it'll do anything it can. So some of these people, there's this one guy that just does everything. He's rich as heck. He lives at the biggest, most grandest buildings, does all this extravagant stuff. That's what he wants to do. But Carol, she's completely against this hive mind thing entirely because, again, Helen died from it. She didn't survive the transfer process, which a lot of people didn't. There were a couple million, I think, that didn't survive that transfer process, and she's very upset about that, and understandably so. I want to say for the first 2/3 of the season, Carol is very largely against it. She's trying to find ways to find their weaknesses this, you know what I mean? Like with things that she can do to help bring the real people back. And in doing so, the show does take its time, but it's not a slow burn by any means, at least not in my opinion, because there's more than enough interesting stuff going on in terms of whether Carol is trying to figure out what she could do to fight these things, us seeing, you know, firsthand how these things react to what Carol is doing, because she does do some pretty crazy stuff to try to get the truth. That's another thing. These guys can't lie. The hive mind thing cannot lie, but at the same time, they're very apprehensive about, you know, anyone being against their whole joining thing. And Carol is doing all these little things, like even experimenting to some extent on trying to find ways to bring people back, but you know, she just can't figure it out. She ends up doing something so brash, so harsh to this one kind of person, this hive mind person that she's really become, you know, acquainted with, that the hive mind itself just completely disassociates from her altogether for like a couple of weeks or even months. But like I mentioned earlier, there's one guy that also cannot stand this hive mind thing. His name is Manusos. He is sick. He goes all the way from Paraguay to Albuquerque to talk to Carol, but man, oh my God, it just gets crazy after that. Because in his journey from getting to Albuquerque from Paraguay, Carol all of a sudden grows this kind of connection with this hive mind, or at least she becomes very connected with a very specific part of the hive mind. And it does kind of create this disillusion in her mind that life can go on this way as long as with this specific person in this specific way. It really showcases how lonely Carol actually feels, how longing she is for companionship now that Helen is gone, and how she sees a lot of that, or feels a lot of that, with this basically fake person. But like I said, this isn't a slow burn by any means. It's just that things do take its time to get to a certain point. But in that journey, you are getting little bits and pieces of every character. The execution is simply flawless. Like in the way that you're sticking with Carol this entire time and learning all these different things, not just about the hive mind, but about her too. And as it all comes to a head in the finale, it's so gratifying. It's so rewarding. And one of the best things about Pluribus is the fact that you can really pull your own meaning of the show to yourself. Like, you know, some people have connected the dots that this show is really about AI. I mean, after all, this hive mind thing basically knows everything that you could possibly know. It is super helpful. It tries to do everything that it can to help, you know, Carol and so on and so forth. But the show could also be about relationships, companionship, being able to sustain yourself with yourself first before relying on other people. It's all done in such a way where there really isn't one way to look at it. There's multiple. And that to me is where Pluribus truly shines. I've seen some people online not really be too crazy about Carol as a character, and I can certainly understand why. She is a bit difficult, there's no doubt about it, but there are reasons for that, and I personally love her character for that very reason. There is a lot of duality with her, which brings me to the performances. I mean, the acting and performances in this show is top notch. Rhea Seehorn, man, like, she is a legend. I loved her in Better Call Saul. I thought she deserved such more love and praise than what she actually got, because she's just fantastic. And once again, she's great here. She deserved her own show, and she's incredible here. Another thing that Pluribus really thrives at is that it not only raises questions, but it answers some of those questions, but only with more questions buried underneath. It keeps the mystique and mystery of this entire thing alive without really sacrificing too much. And I think for all those reasons, that's why so many people have gravitated towards this show. It became the most popular show on Apple TV history. And at least if I remember correctly, it got greenlit for a second and third season before the first season was even finished. So yeah, man, I think Pluribus season 1 was excellent. If I had to say what I think is the best season of television I've seen this year, it would probably still be Severance season 2. I freaking loved Severance season 2, but Pluribus is right there too. And really, you gotta give Apple TV a lot of props, because not only do they have Severance, not only did Pluribus, you know, hit out the park, but it also has The Studio, which is a great comedy. They're really just on a roll with original content, and it's just great to see that they're pulling through with some truly quality stuff here. But please let me know in the comments if you have watched Pluribus. I would love to talk about it, talk about different theories and questions and how we're feeling going forward into season 2. I'm hyped, man. It's gonna be great. So until next time, peace.